Organizational change is one such relevant topic in the present context because the most permanent thing nowadays is the change. Change in the environment, change in the living, change in the society, and so change in the organizations. It is not only the change in the organizations, but the change outside the organizations as well that is influencing the organizations. किसी भी तरीके का change जिसकी वजह से organizations में कुछ बदलाव आता है, वो organizational change process में include होता है. It is a continuous process. We cannot stop it. It is inevitable and it is to happen. The organizations have to decide for a strategy that how will they be reacting or acting proactively to adjust with this change. Sometimes we adjust, react to the changes around us, and sometimes we think and plan for the changes which may come in future. The introduction is being given here. Sometimes we plan the change, sometimes the change is unplanned. It is coming into being and so we are adjusting according to it, or we are working on our adjustment. Sometimes the change is internal to the organizations, and sometimes it is external to the organizations. कभी बाहर, कभी अंदर की environment में changes होती हैं, कभी planned होता है, कभी unplanned होता है, जो आपको इस जगह पे इस table format में बताया गया है. Planned changes result in organizational development because we are planning, we have a goal target set and we are trying to achieve it. We have set a target for the development of the organizations. There are these three purposes which have been given: coping with organizational differentiations and expanding activities that we are planning and working on, accordingly restructuring the working conditions in and around the organizations, and building the human capital according to what we are planning to do. The rate of change can be transformational, एकदम से नया, कुछ ऐसा नया जिससे कि बहुत सारी चीजें बदल जाएं, so it is called transformational or radical, or the change can be transactional or incremental, जो है उस पर add कर दें, तो incremental. The difference has been given. Leadership and culture, organizational mission and strategy are the transformational changes कि पूरा बदलाव आए, और transactional में होता है कि जो चीजें existing है like structure, system, management practices, climate, इसमें थोड़ी बहुत कुछ चीजें change की जाए, तो वो incremental होता है. In the first tabular format, it was being shown that the forces of change can be internal and external. These include many different factors, which we will be discussing from here. So what is the competition in the market? One organization is at one place. There may be many organizations who may be serving the same customers, same group of customers with the same products. So there comes a competition in the market that whose product is better and whose product is the best, being chosen by the maximum number of the customers. Competition can influence, this kind of competition can influence a change in the organization by the price structure and the product lines. Strategy has to be reviewed to reach to the maximum customers in the market. Because due to the multiple options available to the customers, there is an inevitable kind of pressure on companies that how much more you can sell. Whenever we are going to a mall, lines of products are there. टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट, हर कोई जानता है इसके बारे में कि किस तरीके से टेक्नोलॉजी पल पल बदल रही है और आपको उसके लिए एडजस्ट होना पड़ता है. The mobile which you may be holding now would be redundant in a few days because the kind of technology which is inside it or the parts which are fit into it may not be available for the maintenance work. And every time you're using the mobile, so there is a software update coming up or being flashed on your screen after every few days. So this is a kind of technological advancement that we are time in which we are living in. It may not be changing the way the work is performed because the management may be functioning in the same manner, but it has changed the work relationship and the organizational structure, like the way we are communicating our messages. We have different methods of the flow of message. Text messages, SMS is there, then voice messages are there, voice call is there, mails are there. So many different forms of communication are there. And also, there is a drive going on in the society to save paper and so go on for passing your message in the online format. In this technological advancement, this is just one example of passing the communicate or passing the messages or communicating your ideas, any kind of communication. But there is a lot of change in the kinds of machines being used in the manufacturing sector as well. And when we're talking about the technological advancement, we cannot leave behind the Industry 4.0, moving on to Industry 5.0, where there is a use of artificial intelligence and the robotic machinery for doing the work. We are using these kinds of technologies in our Indian Railways, internet reservations, and for quite some time the internet banking, automated operations, and everything that is being done online. Globalization has brought everybody on the same platform, the one big platform using the digital media as well. Globalized, we have become the global citizens. We are living in the globalized world more than local. People know about the products which are being produced in different parts of the world, and they have so many options to choose from. This creates a pressure on the organizations to manufacture the best to sell at the low cost. The government policies are the external factors which the kinds of rules and regulations that are being made by the government for the functioning of the organizations, like revision in laws regarding control of air pollution or the how the chemical waste can be dumped, cleaning of the rivers, clean environment, policies of reservation in jobs, and many other policies which are being made by the government are also an example for how the government policies can influence the organizational strategies. CSR, कॉरपोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, एक ऐसी ही ड्राइव है ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के द्वारा जिसमें कि गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज को मिलाते हुए वो सोसाइटी के लिए कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट करें. ये भी एक स्ट्रैटेजिक point है organizations का to adjust with the changes. Now, workforce diversity is also a kind of external change that forces organizations to change in terms of structure, policies, and rules and regulations. जो लोग हमारे organizations में काम कर रहे होते हैं, उनके जो एज डिफरेंसेस हैं, जो जेंडर डिफरेंसेस हैं, किस तरीके से सबको काम मिले, everybody has to be included, is these things are included in the workforce diversity. Then social and political pressures. Some forces are created by social and the political events, like the need of डब्बावालास in the Mumbai. वो इतना फेमस है कि जो भी मुंबई में आता है वो डब्बा वाला जो खाना दे रहा हो उसको जरूर ट्राई करते हैं, because this is a kind of a speciality in Mumbai and also a speciality of India, that these people have a brilliant service. Then again, in terms of social and political pressures, the collapse of both the Berlin Wall and communism in Russia, that created many new business opportunities, that many organizations came up at the time in such situations. Presently, the changes like the war that is going on and how is it influencing the organizations, their strategies of functioning, because big superpowers are involved in this. These forces are also the important forces acting as the external forces of change for the organizations. What can be the internal forces of change? Leadership, the employee and customer expectation, problems that human resources or the companies may be facing. Now, what may be the process of organizational change? Because change is a continuous process. So these processes, steps have been given, like initiation, motivation, diagnosis, till stabilization, when the change is being involved and taken up in the organizations. When we see that something is coming up, we need to speak that that this thing has to be changed. When we see the thing but ignore, then it does not happen in the same manner. Usually, this change starts when someone at the level of the corporate management takes the responsibility and and initiates the process. इसके बाद कंसल्टेंट को हायर करने की भी बात हो सकती है कि बाहर से किसी को बुलाएं, चीजें दिखाएं और बताएं कि यहाँ पर चेंज की जरूरत लग रही है. Motivation. What is pushing or pulling us? We need to think about the various dimensions of the change before actually working on it. That how beneficial will it be or may it be after it is implemented. Now, at this stage, both the corporate management and the expert who will be involved helps with the organizational change by taking the necessary steps, by bringing it into the attention of the people working in the organizations, because they have to be involved for the process to be started. Diagnosis. Attempt to search for the main cause underlying the symptoms that are being encountered, meaning why the change is required, where the change is required. All the etiology for the problems have to be taken care of or have to be considered to acknowledge that change is required. Then the process of information collection. Alternative approaches are developed in relation to the problems or issues. Detailed information to be collected so that appropriate steps can be planned and taken to deal with the problems. We have to evaluate the various alternatives that we may be planning to work on for dealing with the problem or issues related to the change. Problems may not be the only problems because of which the change has to be brought, but also what problems may happen when the change process will start. Because it will not be easy to implement the change in the organizations. Then after planning these things, the action is to be taken. Before action, a proposal has to be framed, that how will it be done. Then the actual implementation part starts by translating the proposed ideas into action. Whatever might have been thought, it will come into reality at the implementation part, that how easy or difficult the implementation or action part is. Once the process has been initiated in action, then comes the stage of a stabilization, internalizing the change and making it a part of the organization's normal life. It may be a kind of simple change to change the structure of the organization in terms of its architecture. Like there may be cabins and cabins and cabins, and it may be proposed to open all the cabins. Open door policy needs to be applied in the organization. So in terms of the change in architecture, only the cabinets have to be formed, how many cabinets have to be formed, what material to be used, and whom to be given how much space. Everything is to be planned, and then clean the floor, do the thing, internalize the change, work on it, work with the changed structure so that it can be checked that how functional it is, so that then it can be implemented in the other units as well. It is simply like if I'm changing my routine, that I am waking up at 10 o'clock and now I'm planning to wake up at 5 o'clock. Then I have to do the process and I have to carry on with it for some time to see the effect of this change. The stabilization is that process. There are a few roles which are being played by different actors, members of the organizations in the change process. These are being given here as corporate management, corporate manager role, then consultant, counterpart, implementation team is there, chief implementer, task forces we are saying. Corporate management plays an important role in the organizational change process because once the people at the top are acknowledging that we need a change, are internalizing the change, bringing it into practice, then it becomes a little easy by the people at the lower levels to find the suitability of the actions that are being taken. That if the top management is accepting and it is functional, beneficial, good, then it is good. Everybody agrees to it. When somebody is coming from outside, or a team of consultants is coming from outside to help with the change, if there is an insider in the team, then it becomes a little easy to accept the change by all in the organizations. Getting only the external point of view may not be very much invited by everyone in the organizations. It can be said that the internal members are likely to be biased by their own perceptions of the problems because they are knowing in and outs of the organization, but bringing the two external consultants and the insiders on the same table, this different point of views can result into much beneficial actions. Implanting functions are there, transcending functions of the consultant are there, so that each and everybody attunes to the future of the organizations, generating the alternatives so that if one does not work, then the other way to be taken up. Process facilitating function. The consultant is not to live in the organization for a longer period of time. Yeah, he or she is just a process facilitator. Once the process starts and is being stabilized, internalized in the organization, then the role of the consultant is over. Sometimes unpleasant feedback may come when that in those times it is easy for the consultant not to take up those feedback and act as a shock absorber, that what can be done, because the consultant is providing us with many of the alternatives to be done. The consultant brings with him or her the resources and shares the resources at times. Also, the resource building function is there. And once the work is done, they withdraw from the organizations. They go back. Now, what is counterpart? The counterpart role with the external consultant, when somebody is playing a role of the insider, is being attached with the external consultant, then this insider plays a role of counterpart. They share their resources, they share their knowledge, and the insider, the person who is in the organization for all the time, gets to know more and more that what can be done to for the benefit of the organization. A team works for the implementation of the process, for the implementation of the change. It is not only the responsibility of just one person, but a team works and makes it a responsibility of each and every member of the organization so that the change can be readily accepted. These are some of the functions of the implementation team. चीफ इम्प्लीमेंटर जो होता है वो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन टीम का जो चेयरपर्सन होता है उसी को कहते हैं. So only one person may be playing the role of the chief implementer here, having the functions of monitoring, diagnostic, executive function, and all these. Task forces. Different teams are being made for specific purposes so that the change process becomes a little easy, because this has to be a time-bound process. Institutionalization takes some time. It means making the change a permanent part of an organization. If it is good, then institutionalize it on for the institution. It is not only for a part of the institution, but for the whole institution or the organization. Each and every member has to accept it, and so each and every member must understand the benefits of it. Implementation primarily consists of monitoring the change, taking actions and necessary adjustments that are to be done, that has been accepted for implementation. Adaptation has to be done properly. So this is the complete process model of implementation of change that we have been discussing here. When the operating environment becomes unfavorable or hostile, the organization may resort to domain reshuffling. Complete reshuffling can be practiced.